Welcome to the Bag Makers Society podcast, your ultimate destination for all things bag making. If you're passionate about crafting beautiful and functional bags, whether you're a beginner or a seasoned pro, you're in the right place. My name is Deb and I'm thrilled that you're joining me on this creative journey. In each episode, we'll dive into the world of bag making, exploring a range of topics that will fuel your imagination and ignite your sewing prowess. From discussing the latest bag patterns that have the crafting community buzzing, to exploring various techniques that can add that perfect touch to your designs and everything in between. We will hopefully be joined by some incredible guests, bag makers, designers and small business owners who will share their experiences, insights and invaluable tips to help you level up your bag making game. So whether you're stitching up your first tote bag or perfecting your crossbody skills, this podcast is your source for inspiration, education and a good dose of bag making camaraderie. I can't wait to share this adventure with you, so make sure to subscribe to the podcast and tune in to upcoming episodes. So let's not delay any further and get started with this week's episode. Hi, welcome back to the Bag Makers Society podcast. Today I thought we'd delve into eco-friendly sewing or sustainability sewing, and it's something that I think is quite a hot topic within the bag making and sewing community, of using other materials to make bags and purses and other accessories, and it's something I love to see. We'll get quite a few posts in the UK Bag Makers Society Facebook group of bags and different things that have been made from other materials, and I think they're amazing. I've made a few bags out of wool coats a few times, usually things that I've found in charity shops. When I shop in charity shops all the time. It's not very often I tend to shop in normal shops, but you know what I mean. I do tend to shop in charity shops for my clothes a lot of the time, and sometimes I find things and I think, oh, that would make an amazing bag, because the pattern of the fabric or just the quality of the fabric is amazing, and I've bought it and I've made a bag or something out of it. If any of you follow me on Facebook, you might have seen I made a I think it was late on last year, maybe it's beginning of this year, like a burgundy, it was a rudenga, I think that's how you pronounce it, lavender and twine bag, and it was a lamb's wool coat that I bought and upcycled, and I just absolutely loved that bag. It was just beautiful. It was beautiful quality wool. And yeah, the bag, that was, oh God, I just absolutely loved it. It just came out so well. And it was one of those few projects where, as I was rifling through, as I say, I wasn't looking for anything to upcycle or to repurpose. I was, looking for things myself, and I saw this, and it was the colour that struck me, because it was the most beautiful burgundy colour. And I thought, oh, that would make the most beautiful bag. And the rudenga just came to mind, and I thought, that's what I want to make, and I had it in my head of what I wanted it to look like. And it's one of those few projects that I've ever actually done that it came out how I wanted it to come out. And when I was looking for the line and fabric that I wanted to use, as I was rifling through my fabric stash, I came across a fabric which I'm pretty sure I got from a fab in Oakham, where I got that one time when I was visiting my friend who lives down that way. And again, the colourway of that fabric was just the perfect match, and it had a little bit of gold through it as well, so I used gold hardware. And yeah, it just came out absolutely perfectly, and I was so proud of it. I absolutely loved this bag. So yeah, if any of you follow me on social media, you've probably seen it. And like I say, it was one of those few times that I ever actually have envisaged something in my head and it's come out how I wanted it to come out. I was so proud of it. But yeah, I do like to use particularly sort of coats and jackets and stuff is the outers for bags. I quite often you'll find me quite often when I'm out and about, I'll like see somebody wearing a coat or a jacket and I go, oh god, that would make an amazing bag. Like the design of the fabric or the structure of the fabric, I'm like, oh, that would be an amazing bag. I was actually at a party the other day, and a fella had a shirt on, and it was big leaf prints. Anybody who knows me knows I love leaf prints, but it also had a skull within the leaf print, and I kept saying that would make an amazing bag lining. That would just be amazing. So I do like to use things like that. So I actually do use shirts quite a bit for the linings of bags. Again, if I'm in charity shops looking for clothes for myself, if I come across a shirt or something like that has a print that I think stands out, then I'll buy it to repurpose as a bag lining or as an accent or something like that. And I just think it's a good way of utilising fabrics that's already out there, isn't maybe as wanted anymore, and it can be repurposed into something that can be used for years and years and years to come. So I think it's quite an interesting way of doing things. I don't know if anybody follows an amazing lady I follow her on Facebook. I'm not actually sure she's on Instagram. I don't actually use Instagram that much. I'm mainly a Facebook girl. But yeah, I follow her on Facebook, and her Facebook page is called New Beginnings. So it's BAGINNINGS, I think. And she makes bags from old sofas. So basically she gets sofas that basically have no life left in them at all. So they aren't, they've probably started to collapse inside. They aren't really usable as sofas anymore, and strips them down and uses the leather to make bags. And I've seen a few posts as well. I think the other materials get donated off to other places as well. So I think as much of the sofas get repurposed as much as possible. But the bags she makes are beautiful, all very simple in design. She makes flight bags, sort of like weekend bags, some totes, crossbody bags. So, and she has sort of a very set design sort of repertoire. So she's obviously created her own bag patterns and works from them. So she's very much streamlined her processes. But they're absolutely beautiful. So she makes the bags up out of these leathers. She cleans all the leathers down, reconditions them, feeds them, nourishes them, oils them, and they just come out looking stunning. And one of the things that I do actually really like is that any of the imperfections are sometimes brought out within the bags that she creates. So I saw her one the other day where she got a sofa from an elderly couple who had donated the leather from the sofa and then commissioned a bag from her. And I think at some point their grandchildren had drawn on the sofa, and the bag that they'd commissioned actually had the grandchildren's graffiti, for want of a better word, on the sofa within this bag. And I just thought that's just such an amazing way of having that memory like live on, and that item be totally repurposed and be able to be used and loved and cherished and utilised and what have you. last year I got a quote off a friend whose husband unfortunately passed away at the end of last year, and he was quite young. He was only in his 50s, and he had a beautiful barber coat, and she loves to go on weekends away. She goes back up to Scotland quite a bit, which is where he was from originally, and I use parts of that coat to make sort of like a tote bag for her, because I wanted her to be able to have a bag that she could take with her, and it was part of him going with her, you know, back up to Scotland with, or you know, on any of the travels that she's going on, and I just think that's just such a nice way of being able to use things that, you know, are either an important part of somebody's life or that have been passed on from somebody else, and being able to repurpose them and use them in a way that you'd be able to use them and then be able to live on and what have you. And so I just think being able to upcycle things or repurpose things, whichever word you like to use, it's just an amazing thing that is us as bag makers or sewers, whatever you refer to yourself as, can do. And yeah, and obviously it saves things from going into landfill. So obviously you've got the eco-friendly part of it, which obviously is a major player for some people. But I think a bigger draw for a lot of people is the ability to be able to have memories live on in a way that they wouldn't necessarily be able to. So things like making memory bears or memory cushions, memory blankets, all of that sort of thing is a way of being able to use those items and bring them into a new setting in a way that they can be used and cherished and loved. And then especially with things like handbags and purses, being able to change items of clothing into usable items as well is an even greater thing, because that item has use, it has value, and you know, it continues to be used possibly for years and years and years to come. So I do love to see the all the posts in the Facebook group when people are posting things that they've upcycled. We have another lovely member called Helen, who makes quite a lot of bags out of old leather coats, and I think she's made a few things out of sofas and things like that, and her things are absolutely beautiful. So if you're on Facebook, I think her page is Sew, as in SEW, Helen Richardson, so you can go and check her out and check out some of her makes as well. But yeah, I just think, you know, being able to sort of take something that's one thing totally apart and make it into something else, and even just down to being able to use things down to the zips, buttons, closures, you know, so that no part of it is wasted, is a really good thing. I know people quite often buy sort of bags out of charity shops and utilise them for the hardware and the zips and such, like, especially when they're first starting out, because it's a much cheaper way of getting the hardware when they're first starting out than going and buying the hardware new. And then obviously the leather or the faux leather that comes from that bag is a good way of trying different bag patterns with inexpensive materials as well. So it's a good way to sort of try things out, especially when you're first starting. So if you upcycle things or repurpose things, I'd love to hear about them. You know, do you do it because you like to make things from one thing into something else from an eco-friendly point of view? Do you like to save things from going into landfill, and do you do it from an environmentally friendly point of view? Or do you do it from a sentimental point of view? Do you like to do it so that you're preserving memories, that you're preserving something from somebody to be able to go on to somebody else in a way that they will be able to use and utilise it? I'd love to hear. As I say, you can either tell me in the comments section of the platform that you're listening to the podcast on, or you can find me on social media, which on Instagram is Deb_Me Made Makes. On Facebook, if you type in Me Made Makes, you'll find me. You can come and join the Facebook group, which is the UK Bag Makers Society. And then you can also find me on my website. You can always email me on my website, which is www.memadmakes.co.uk. And I usually always forget to tell you about my YouTube channel as well, which is just Deb Callahan Bag Maker. So I really probably should get all of these things uniformed and just one thing across all channels, but I suppose that would be boring and that's not me. But I hope you've enjoyed this brief episode on being eco-friendly and sustainable in bag making. And like I say, I'd love to hear your thoughts, so please do reach out. I love to hear from the community. I love getting messages and emails from people, so please don't be afraid to reach out. So until next time, happy sewing and may your bobbin always be full. We'll speak soon. Bye.